What's up, everybody? Time for another week and another episode and another day in Crifoth, the last 7 days. Where we left off last time, Lilith consumed the flesh of Malice, and by happenstance also consumed the flesh of the World Eater and the World Conqueror, specifically his brain and his heart. It has risen her to estates far beyond where she was before, due to the divine spark inside of all humans, and she has become somewhat of a god herself. She has been flexing her powers ever since then. She has destroyed the lives of 6 Ash Elves. We have met actually two more of the 4 Archfiends. Jupiter, who is very charismatically a good guy, and then the the Oil Slick Death Seer. So, with that being said, at the end of last session, Lilith, you were sent into the depths of the earth, and the rest of you have basically been given a night to make a decision. That decision is, will you do what Lilith is meant to do as the vessel of Malice now and conquer the rest of the world of Crifoth once and for all? Or will you destroy her and then destroy yourselves and therefore put an end to the Archfiend's plans to basically dominate all creation inside Crifoth? With that being said, it is pitch black this deep underground. So deep, in fact, that you can't even move a single inch. Any of your limbs, your wings, even your eyes cannot open. You cannot breathe, Lilith, or thing that was once Lilith. You are literally dozens, if not hundreds, of miles underground. There's a warmth around you, as if the earth is liquid and hot, but still too dense for you to move around it or to move through it. But in this shadow, in this darkness, there's a peace as well. And in that peace, you meditate. And as you meditate, you come to a decision. The camera changes. For a second, everything is blinded by this white light. And then as the white light begins to subside, we see the Hell and Oil Slick Death Seer walking throughout the sands of Crifoth. The wind is tugging at his cloak, and he is walking through blood and mud and guck and all kinds of other unsanitary, to say it best. There are corpses everywhere, as well as the destroyed bodies of countless demons. The seer turns around, and he looks behind him towards that massive mountain where you all sit. And then he turns back and he keeps walking towards the horizon. His instincts have told him to flee this place, and he has saw the future. He has saw all of the futures, and he knows that once Lilith emerges from the mountain, his life will soon be forfeit. The camera moves again. When the erudite, Oracle, and Murmur awake from their short reprieve, the short sleep, Hanad is gone. She has disappeared somewhere and you know not where, and she has left neither footprint nor clue to track her. As the three of you awake, starting with you, Murmur, what are your first reactions to being able to see another sunrise?
So Murmur awakens from this rest, and he just lays there staring up at the sky because we're on top of this this tall mountain peak, I believe, and he thinks about briefly for just a moment what it felt like when this Lilith Malice creature sent him on an unexpected hurdle through hell. And even his face, this tan face, there are parts of it where the skin is just cherry red and blistered where he has passed through this other place, whether it was another realm, another dimension. He's not sure. That's way beyond his pay grade. His armor is covered in these deep rents where tearing claws and gnashing teeth ripped through this rusted, pitted, blood-spattered metal. And he's thinking about the fact that this brief journey, because he was returned shortly thereafter, it wasn't anything like what he expected. It was just darkness and overwhelming heat and the sound, again, of the slashing claws and gnashing teeth. But there was a name that kept floating through the air, almost in these, sometimes it was whispered, sometimes it was screamed. And he realizes as he slowly sits up and sort of looks down at his hands, his gauntleted hands, that it was the name of the man that he left to die at the gates of Malice, the man that was from his tribe. It was the man that he came to care about a great deal, perhaps even love. And he looks at the still sleeping forms of the erudite and the oracle with these gray eyes that they show no hint of higher intelligence. I mean, they have intelligence, but there's no higher thoughts in his mind after what he has experienced. And he just pulls out his blade and just starts sharpening it. Just this faint shick, shick, shick with his whetstone, just like he always has.
As you begin to sharpen your blade, excuse me, maybe it's because you believe yourself not to have any higher, deeper wisdom or intelligence that this encounter happens now. The hairs on the back of your neck begin to rise. Um, at the feeling of knowing that something is approaching, would you continue sharpening your blade or would you stop?
At this point, Murmur would probably continue.
Perfect. Something moves in the corner of your eye to the left, and then again to the right, and then you see a shadow before you. And when you look up, Murmur, you see that surrounded on all four sides, about 10, maybe 15 feet, are the silhouettes of four horsemen. You look at them and you peer right through them, and you cannot see any detail on their forms, and yet you can see infinite amounts of detail too. When you see their horses, you see every horse that has ever existed before the apocalypse came. When you see their cloaks, you see every cloak of every king that ever existed. The same with their armor, with their crowns, and their faces. You see kings, queens, children, women, elderly, young, all of them, all at once. They look down at you, surrounding you, and they speak not, but they begin to draw blades slowly. What is your reaction?
I think Murmur would just very slowly start to stand up if they let him. And as he rises like this ancient behemoth from a time long past, sand sort of streaming down what's left of his armor, he would just whisper quietly. He would say, "I wait for the mother of mothers to return. I await for her return so I may have my purpose again. Your deaths are not my purpose."
When you say that, the four respond, but they respond neither verbally nor with any form of understandable communication. The king before you turns his shadowy blade, ethereal, wraithed in darkness, and he throws it to your feet, and it impales the ground. To your left, it takes its blade, it stabs itself in the head, and then it throws the blade out, and the crown, made of gold, inlaid with gems, bounces to your feet. The second one cracks itself in the chest, and it flips the blade out, and a cloak snaps across the air and lands behind you. And you turn around, you see the last king is gone, and all that remains is the horse, or rather the nightmare of a horse, with black fur and a mane of flame going through its barding. Then you blink, and the silhouettes are gone, but the objects they have left behind remain.
Seeing this, Murmur would take a slow step towards the blade first, sort of reaching out with one gauntleted hand to see what happens as he reaches out to touch it.
When you grab it, you feel as if the blade cannot be budged or moved from the ground, and indeed it cannot. And then a moment later, it relents and you pull it out. And as you do so, the hilt, the guard, and the blade are all shifting as you move it through the air, right? It's taking the forms of dozens, hundreds of different types of swords. And yet, every single one of them sits as if they would fit perfectly inside of your scabbard.
And I think at this, Murmur would utter this throaty, dusty laugh and just say to himself, "So I shall kill the mother of mothers with the father of swords," and he will sheathe this strange sword in his scabbard if he can do so.
It slides in perfectly. What do you do with the crown and the cloak?
Yeah, I mean, if his companions have not awoken to the sound of this awful racking laughter, he would probably actually go for the nightmare next, just to see if he could examine this beast. He's probably never seen anything like this before, except for at a distance.
Most definitely not. When you approach the nightmare, it stands there silent. When you go to touch it, it releases a sound that's not like a neigh, but like the whining death cry of a woman. And when you pull your hand away, the nightmare fades. And when you look down at your sword, the pommel is a burning red ruby.
And Murmur, who has become very used to seeing some unusual things in this company, glances down at the ruby and just sort of rubs it with one gauntleted hand as he turns to look at the cloak and the crown, heading towards the crown first.
When you pick up the crown and you look at it, it is a beautiful anointed crown. Thousands upon thousands of jewels appear inside of it and then fade away, right? Again, with that whole mirage look. Then the crown fades and you look down at the sword, and both, well, the hilt now seems to be made of gold, and the guard itself is made out of a mixture of gemstones.
So seeing that everything he is touching is clearly affecting this father of swords, this sword of swords, he reaches eagerly almost for the cloak.
Perfect. And when you grab the cloak and you look at the cloak, you snap it, and you see the regal designs. The embroidery is that of the history of all mankind. You don't understand what you're looking at, and that's why you understand what this is, right? It's a paradox in your head that somehow snaps together. And then it fades away, and you look down, and the scabbard, which the father of swords, as you have named it, is in, has these designs just kind of like flowing up and down it. So mechanically, what you have now, if you wish to write this down, it's a +3 sword. It also doubles as, I think it's called the Lord of Kingly Might or something like that from the DMG. I'll pull it back up and look at it again. And in addition, it is a Vorpal longsword. So on a crit, you decapitate things and kill it. With that being said, yes, the Rod of Kingly Might. There we go.
Hey, sorry, real quick. I gotta step away real quick. I'll be right back.
Perfect.
Sorry.
As Murmur finishes this ritual of constructing this weapon, that is when you awake, Erudite and Oracle. So you two arise from your dreams. We'll start with you, Erudite. How was your sleep, if you truly slept at all?
Erudite's sleep is one where he does not retreat into a world of fancy or fantasy and whimsy. It's him closing his eyes and thinking about the possibilities, running the numbers, imagining how things are. He delves into his palace of thoughts, and he's pondering through the night, pondering about the situation, pondering about his sister, pondering about the Hellslick Deathseer. And when he wakes up and he sees Murmur with this mirageful sword, and he sees the tracks in the sand suggesting the activity of the night before, he merely just looks at you, Murmur. He glances with his eyes to your side at the sword. He gives a nod. And then he rises and looks to the rising sun.
Do you say anything to him, Murmur, as he looks at you and then looks away?
No, I think at this point, Murmur's almost sole purpose, even though he is awestruck in a way by these gifts he has been given by the four riders, I think his entire focus now has returned to the place where the ground swallowed Lilith Malice, as he rests his hand on the ruby of the blade.
I dig it. Oracle, as you arise, what was your night of fitful sleep like, and how are you thinking this morning on the situation?
It was a deep sleep, a sleep of anticipation of a hard day ahead. And I let my mind wander through and around and over the stars and back again. Just taking one last look around the cosmos before I bring myself back again among my two remaining companions, as it would seem, as I would frown slightly, wondering where Hanad went, but I would stand up and stand next to the others and look at the rising sun and smile to them and nod wordlessly.
It's at that moment, Oracle, you realize your hands are wet. And when you look at your arms, the constellation scars in your flesh have been weeping blood in your sleep. And you have this feeling, Oracle. You have this feeling that someone, some far place away, has maybe just momentarily, you've caught their attention. And you can't shake that feeling whatsoever, Oracle. And if you were to wipe at your arms at the blood, there's no wounds, right? There's no source that this blood was coming from, and it's long since stopped. What's your reaction to this?
I would think to myself, I would turn to the others and say, did those horsemen that watched us, did they came around? I feel like someone's watching me now.
In the silence of that question, I imagine Murmur like looks over but doesn't say anything. The ground begins to tremble. It trembles slightly at first, and then grows heavier and heavier and heavier. And the mountain is shaking so incredibly hard now that certain parts of it look like liquid as it begins to move in waves and then collapse downwards into some black, dark, dank abyss. The mountain literally is collapsing all around you guys now. What do you do?
Murmur will start to head down the path leading from the summit back down to the base of the mountain. Just these not unconcerned steps because the mountain is collapsing, but he doesn't seem to be in a particular rush.
I would follow him down.
The ground merely leaves the erudite's feet as he just stands in place, floating. Then he kind of notices around him that the ground is falling, and it just descends slowly and nonchalantly through the air.
The smoke, not the smoke, the dust kicked up by the collapse of this mountain dwarfs the mountain or what it once was in every single aspect. If there was a satellite in this world and it was looking down, it would see almost this small continent-sized just red dust cloud covering Crifoth slowly, right? As this massive eruption of debris enters into the air. Murmur and Oracle and Erudite, you are all trapped in this blood-red haze, right? And then the sounds of rumbling stop, and the smoke and the dust and the debris is still swirling around you. But your bodies begin to shake, your molars begin to shake, and the feeling of an archfiend close by, one that you know that very well, that feeling, overtakes you. As what was once known as Lilith rises from the depths of the world. Lilith, as you rise up, literally just floating upwards to this destruction, what is your reaction to exiting this night in your new form?
Lilith's eyes would squint against the sun, despite being only down there for a night. It was darkness so intense that coming up here actually hurts her. But her expression is resolute. Her eyes are that of Lilith's. She has not changed much in her body. No, nothing else demonic has sprouted from her. In fact, she looks more like Lilith than she did before. And she looks at the three of you, and her eyes rest on your sword, Murmur. And she looks back up at you. I suppose you're not looking for any conversation or say in what I have learned from being in these depths, or even my decision of what is to be.
Speak if you wish. Sing us a song. It will make what follows all the more entertaining.
And she looks to the other two. And what say you? Have your minds been made up?
I nod.
And in unison, almost in eerie synchrony, the erudite nods at the same time.
Well, the first thing I must tell you, what I have learned, those 7 who told us the prophecy were not the 7 devils. They were not coming from them. Their origin is something I am not sure of. The other thing, it is not just Malice who is in here with me, but also the remnants of the World Eater. The consciousness of him who destroyed, who took over, who conquered. And he is angry. Angry with the demons, the archfiends who stole from him the power that he alone once wielded. And he wishes retribution against them. I think it would be very foolish for you to make such a rash decision when we have such a power that could destroy those which have been hunting us, those which caused us much pain and misery. But there will be no song, no dance, I am simply telling you what I know, trusting that you will make up your own minds.
Even if you destroy the other devils, you cannot remain. Do you accept that?
If I do not remain, then your fate is sealed.
But once the other creatures, and Murmur kind of tilts his head to the side, are destroyed, then nothing will stop me from coming after you.
I would not expect anything less from a former gladiator. And what say you, brother? You look on, you question, you inspect.
I'm laughing to myself inside. He says with a deadpan face. The cosmic irony of it. The wolf turns to his sheep to help him kill his brothers. Nay, not his brothers. His own children. We are those sheep. But who else does he have? I understand our role in all this. I always have. And he extends his hand to you, Lilith, to have you hold it, to have him help you up. Do you reach for his hand?
Yes, she would. She would grasp it firmly.
And he gives you a nod.
As your hands connect and you nod to her, erudite, we switch scenes. We're in a very different area right now. There's nothing but blackness all around us. All around the camera, I should say. And then the camera begins to move through the void, and we see four things. We see a rock. We see a crackling bolt of lightning. And we see a fire. And then we see the gray sun in his elven form. He is sitting there, kneeling. No, not kneeling. He's sitting there in meditation. His ears twisting in that helix up behind his head and rising up. And then three more figures appear. One between the rock and the storm. Between that stands Jupiter, stepping out of the darkness. And then between the rock and the fire steps the demon of song in her most natural form, a tiefling woman who is carrying a tiefling baby, right? Just nestled in front of her stomach. And then walking up behind and then beside the sun is the hell-slick Deathseer, who sits beside him. And the darkness between all of these figures ripples. And the sun points into it. And in this massive red cloud of dust that appears in the reflection of the reflection, we see you two holding hands, you two shaking hands, the erudites and Lilith. And the sun looks up. He looks at the rock, and then he looks at the fire, and then he looks at the crackling lightning. And these things all pulsate in unison. And then he looks to the three archfiends, and he says, "And what of them?" And the lightning strikes off into the air. And then he looks to the rock, and from the rock grows flowers. And then he looks to the fire, and the fire turns to cinders. And then the sun nods, and he stands up, and he walks forward, and he disappears into the reflection of the reflection. When we snap back to you guys, that great massive blanket of pulsating red sand thrown up by Lilith's emerger around you has frozen. And when I say it has frozen, It's as if the very particles themselves are now suspended in the air around you. And then they begin to swirl almost too strong. They begin beating at all of you, slashing, beating. I need everyone to make me a Constitution saving throw, please. AC you will be looking for is just a 15. Nice, erudite. Nice, Murmur. Let's see what Yannis says. All right. So both both Oracle and Lilith, you two are just kind of mildly, annoyed by the winds. Murmur, you don't know if it's because you're distracted, because you're weary, or because of maybe what you went through when you were hurled through hell, right? But the winds are sliding in through your armor and cutting at your exposed flesh. You take 20 points of damage, and you gain 2 exhaustion points. And you, erudite, you're wearing little more than rags right now, right? Because of everything you've been through the last few days. Your exposed flesh is just being ran a havoc on, right? Blood is freely flowing from you now as you also take 20 points of damage and you gain 2 points of exhaustion. It's clear to all of you, be it by instinct or knowledge or something more, that something has taken control of this storm and is using it against you. What do you four do?
Quick, we must escape. Grab onto me. And if people do so, I would like to cast Fly upon all of us. Any who wish to grab onto me, who is allied with the demon Lilith, and I'll give you the boon of flight.
Murmur, ever the pragmatist, will walk forward and just lay a gauntleted hand on the erudite's shoulder, but keeping him at arm's length due to Lilith's proximity.
I'll grab onto him as well.
And you guys all fly upwards, I imagine?
Yeah, trying to get out of this storm as best we can.
All right, before you guys all escape, there's going to be one more Constitution saving throw just because of how much dust is in the air. So go ahead and make that for me. That's a lot better there, Murmur. It seems like we have a total flip here. So in this case, Lilith, your demon-empowered skin is not doing well under this, and you begin to realize that whatever is moving the sand to cut at you is doing it through some arcane method meant specifically to target you almost. You take 20 points of slashing damage, and you gain 2 points of exhaustion. Oracle, it's same for you. And use bleeding from your constellation tattoos, your scars, once again. As you guys fly into the heavens and you pierce the top of this cloud, you are not dozens, that's a lie, about like 15 miles above the surface of Crifoth, right? It's very hard to breathe up here. It's also very cold. And if you're up here for too long, it's just going to be hell, and you will eventually plummet from the skies, unable to keep up this magic, right? And underneath you is this swirling vortex like a hurricane, a set storm, just covering everything as far as the eye can see, right? And then you look up, all of you, and you see that someone is standing in the clouds with you. You see that legendary hero. You see the gray sun. You see him standing there, with the cold winds of the stratosphere beating at his cloaks and his robes. And he's looking at you with these hateful black eyes. And he raises a hand. And as he does so, the light of the sun intensifies on all of you now. Please make me another Constitution saving throw. Nice. All right, if you fail, you're taking another 20 points, this time of radiant damage, and another 2 points of exhaustion. If you pass, you're only taking the 20 points of damage. And as the sun is intensifying and he's closing his hand, the sun speaks and he says, "The world hates you. The sun hates you. Every rock, every plant, every bit of water, the very idea of lightning and storms and fire and energy hates you." And he's looking directly at you, Lilith. And he says, "You took my lover. You waged war. You made that which should not have been dead. You murdered it. You created extinction. And now you will die because of it." How do you people respond?
This thing is on borrowed time. We will use her against the demons and the fiends. And then she will perish along with them.
Go ahead, Murmur.
Murmur would just look at this godlike ash elf and just say, "I swear what the oracle has said will come to pass on the soul of the man that I lost."
The sun raises his right hand. His left hand still up, of course. Raises his right hand, and he extends it towards you, Oracle. Make me a dexterity saving throw, if you would. That's going to fail this. A lance of sunlight leaves his palm. You look down, Oracle, and it has went straight through your chest as you take 110 points of radiant damage. The sun looks at you after he fires this, and then you can see that sunlight is gathering again at his palm, and it is clear to all four of you, or three of you if the Oracle has fallen, that he is beginning to fire off another lance. What do you three or four do? Starting with the Oracle, who just got blasted first.
Ow. I'm still alive. Barely. It did hit my blood points, so do I roll for
If you drop the half blood, yeah.
Oh no, it's above half. Oh.
Good.
God damn, that's a lot of damage. Well, I would cough a little blood and cast Death Ward on myself.
I love it. As you cast this on yourself, bleeding and floating in the air, almost freezing to death because of what's whirling around you. We're gonna say, okay, so basically, which of you three will be acting next?
I will shout towards the Erudite to get us out of here.
Oh yes, teleport, please, Erudite.
The erudite looks, and there's no cover. There's nothing in between the sun and us because we're in the open sky right now. And he looks. There's nothing around him he can use. There's no way he can take advantage of the situation. It's just this open sky, and I'm assuming we're all within like hand's reach of each other.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, and he's just, again, he starts tracing sigils in the air. Grab onto me! And everyone next to him, we're gonna teleport
Yes,
back
you
out of
are.
here.
Where are you teleporting to, my friend?
That is a good question.
Pick a
somewhere where
location.
Somewhere where the sun can't see. That's number one rule.
Right, underground.
Right. I'm imagining this labyrinth of caves, natural caves, maybe even carved by the Surrey themselves in their dugout, invasion of Crifoth. It's gonna be kind of abandoned. It's just very I guess kind of generic. Just this. He's not looking for anything specific. Just this winding, almost like you get lost within it.
Perfect. I
Labyrinth.
like it. You appear there in a flash of light, right? For a moment, all is peaceful, but that moment is no longer than a heartbeat because you hear something approaching you already through the tunnels. You hear a lot of things, and then you hear a voice that sounds like rock breaking, glass shattering, the voice of the planet, of the earth, of the stones itself. And it says, "You have made powerful enemies. I did not think we would have to do this, but it seems the Incarnum cannot do this thing themselves." And in the darkness, only you have dark vision, Lilith. And what you see approaching you through one of the tunnels is this thing that's made. Actually, you've seen Incarnums before, right? You've seen them made of the rock and the plants and everything. Take that and perfect it, right? It has a lithness to it and a strength to it. It wears no clothes. It has no sexual organs. You can't tell a gender, but it is a mixture of plant sinew and then stone bone and flesh. And as the primordial approaches you, walking through the tunnels, it stops 30 feet away and then it reaches up and it slowly begins to move its arm down. And as it does so, the dust begins to fall on your heads, and then small pebbles, and you realize he's bringing this entire labyrinth down on top of you. What do you able to do?
As we're still huddled up together, I would say shit with blood spilling out of my mouth, and I would plane shift us into the warm darkness and silence of the reflection, away from the elements.
Spicy, I love it. You cough up this blood, and then next thing you know, you're gone. You're inside of this darkness. And for a moment, you have a reprieve. This is true. Longer than a heartbeat this time. Everything around you is pure black, though you can hear the rustling of oil water close by. Yeah, the darkness appears and kills you. No, I'm just joking. You know, Erudite, a secret about the darkness, though. You know that there are 12 types of darkness, right? And the basic darkness of night is just the first type. It is indifference. Some forms of darkness are deeper and blacker and angrier. Some are deeper and blacker and kinder. And as, yeah, it's advanced darkness. As you're sitting here in this gloam, Erudite, this darkness around you is very clearly alive, but you don't know if it's aggressive or if it's gentle. As you guys have entered the reflection, what do you do?
You see that allies that you thought you had, they were never there. You all would have died. Nonetheless, either way, the fates have been sealed. They have had this plan for when the first child was born in Crifoth. They had this plan.
Against everything, we will finish this.
Yes, I think we will. And Murmur will unsheath the Father of Swords and point it at Lilith and just say, "You are right. We cannot defeat all these enemies, but we can defeat the one who turned them against us. They were never our allies, but you have guaranteed that they will forevermore be our enemies until you die."
And she kind of looks and she kind of tilts her head. You think that killing me is going to save you, that they will renege on their attack, on their pursuit after you, and yet you are going to kill someone who wants them dead and wants us to survive. Do you think that is wise?
A silver sword clashes against your father of swords, Murmur, as Erudite has also stepped in, parrying your sword, locking it against the blades. Listen to reason. The Sun-Kissed asked me 2 nights ago if I knew what a god looked like. I know the answer. And he gestures to Lilith. That is not what a god looks like. Not yet. That being of wispy cosmic smoke, that Jupiter, that is not what a god looks like. The 6-winged malice is not what a god looks like. That ash elf in the sky is not what a god looks like. Burperos, the World Eater, sitting upon his throne, now dismembered and eaten by his children, is not what a god looks like. A god is more than that, is less than that, is more pure than that. And that purity is inside her right now. She is, or has, the World Eater in her. And that is our salvation. That is how we survive this, in a way. That is how we suffer less, suffer no longer.
But we will die and we will lose, if not all of us are of the same mindset, at least for the time being.
And he stops, but he does not lower his sword. He actually kind of twists it so the edge kind of grates a little bit against your silver sword, Erudite. I am not opposed to turning this thing against the other archfiends, the other archdevils. But I do not see how this is possible when the very earth itself rises up in disgust and hatred of this abomination. How are we to accomplish anything if the very sun itself despises us because that creature walks with us? I see no victory in this, except...
World Eater eats worlds.
This is true, so...
Within her is the World Eater. The world is angry at us.
Mm-hmm.
We have the thing that eats the thing that's trying to eat us. I'm trying to use more simple language for you, Murmur.
I appreciate it, Erudite.
We will not use her to destroy the world. We're trying to save it, even if it wants to kill us.
It's already dead. The world is already dead.
This is true. It is
It's not
painfully
dead.
obvious. It is, boy.
Things are still alive on the world.
They are maggots writhing in a corpse. Even someone as simple as myself, and he actually pulls his sword back and lowers it, even someone as simple as myself knows that the world is dead. But, well, what do you propose, Erudite, that we return to this world that, as you said, wishes to destroy that which lies within your whatever she is?
Do you wish to give the demons victory in this? Do you wish for them to win?
If
No.
they win, they will just prolong the suffering. They will take sun and they will take the light and shine it on the maggots, causing them to writhe in pain.
maybe if we actually do something, do the thing we're supposed to do, maybe if we kill one of those archfiends, maybe then they will pause and see how useful she is.
Perhaps. But the world has been tainted so much. The demons eating the World Eater has just increased the amount of chaos, the amount of disruption and taint that is on the world.
The World Eater came for this world, yet we look around and see a world that is not eaten. It's because the World Eater has been eaten by his own children.
You humans love to talk in circles, don't you? And you hear this voice come from the blackness. Stepping out from the shadows. It's as if the shadows are like in the shapes of like trees and fronds and plants and whatnot, but you just can't actually see them. You see blackness, right? But you see this figure step out, this hooded figure. He's wearing this yellow, like an ascetic's robe. There are two lumps underneath the hood. And when he moves the hood back, you see the face of a bleached tiefling. A tiefling who has no color whatsoever in his skin nor in his bones. A tiefling who has overcome the need to consume and sustain themselves off of demon flesh and demon blood. He is old, he is wrinkled, he looks at you and he smiles. And he sits on something that seems to be blackness in the shape of a rock. And he says, "How much longer do you think you can sit here and talk before they realize where you are? This is their world, after all."
We have about 46 more seconds left.
Stout. I like it. You're a smart one, human. So then, what do you plan on doing in this next 46 seconds? Talk some more, then fight, and then teleport somewhere else maybe and talk some more?
We have
Yeah.
one with us who fails to see the big picture here.
Fails to see the big picture. There is no big picture, my boy. I don't know why you pretend like there is one. So then, now that I look at the time, and he looks up into the blackness like he can tell something that you guys can't. He looks back to you and he says, "You have less than 10 seconds now. I wonder if you're right, then they will appear."
If you are so confident we can turn this aberration against the other Archfiends, then take us out of here.
Confidence.
Name one.
Aberration. Are you talking about the girl with the third eye in the middle of her forehead?
I am sorry. And Murmur actually turns to look at this creature and inclines his head weirdly enough and says, "I was talking to that one." And he kind of gestures over to the erudite.
Oh, I see. That is fine. You can teleport again if you would like, of course. You can leave at any discretion. In fact, I can even save you some time and just point you in the direction you need to walk if you're getting tired of draining the power of gods, the truest reality. But, well, it's been 10 seconds and there's no one else here. So, maybe we should just chat for a while. Or you can leave. You've been running away from everyone else who's tried to talk to you. But I've been told by the ladies I'm very persistent. I tend to follow a lot.
Who are you?
Just an old tiefling, sitting here in the darkness, enjoying the quiet.
How did you find your way in here?
I would say same way you did, but that would be a patented lie. I sat down one day, and I realized, well, not realized, I thought to myself, I'm tired of drinking blood. Didn't taste very good, didn't do very well for my cholesterol. If you know what cholesterol is, I think this one might know, but the rest of you do not. Well, didn't do too well by it, so I just sat down one day underneath the corpse of a tree. I just began to relax, meditate, as you would call it, and, well, here I am now.
I guess that's one way.
I do guess that is one way too. I'm here, so I would have to guess. Anyway, so then, my comrades, well, what are you gonna do next?
You portray yourself as so smart, so wise.
I'm going to stop you before you finish. I am neither smart nor wise. I was just some old asshole who sat under a tree one day. I don't know more than you know. I've been overhearing your conversation. I've overheard some other conversations. So I know a few things, but that one is smarter than me. He points to the Erudite, and then he points to the Oracle, and that one is wiser than me. You are more desperate than me. He points to Murmur. And he points to you, Lilith, and he says, and you? I don't know, but you're something more than me, I'm sure, on account of the third eye and the wings and whatnot.
Then you are simply here wasting our time.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. A lot of people like to say that a lot of things waste their time, and then they go out and do something that really wastes their time, like waging war against archfiends or trying to eat the world. Oh man, when the world eater did that, he should have known. Not the first person who's tried it, and apparently not the last if you go gallivanting off to do it yourselves.
And why do you think we have no chance against these archfiends when we are aided by such a lovely thing as this? And Murmur gestures at
No
Lilith.
chance. I never said you have no chance. With the tenacity you four have, more than likely you could kill them, eat them, and then usher in another apocalypse or blow the world up or do what you would like. I just think personally that would be a waste of time.
And your alternative is?
Well, I don't know what's a good use of time for everybody. I can only speak in relation to myself. For me, a good use of my time was sitting underneath a dead tree and thinking about things for a while.
Okay, thank you. So, listen. So, which one should we go after first?
I wouldn't mind hearing more about this interesting tiefling that sat under a tree.
I think he pretty much told us the whole story. I mean, he sat under the tree and now he's here.
A smart one. I told you he was wiser than I am. That being said, he also has 5 very nice women paying a lot of attention to him right now in a place far from here. So, I would say if you're trying to impress them, which it seems you do with the tattoos on your arms and the divine magic and all of that, that going out and fighting another archfiend at this very second may not be the smartest thing to do. Or it might be. I have no idea. I'm just making you think about it.
As he said that, I take a glance down to my large hole in the middle of my chest, and maybe after we rest for a bit.
I don't think 8 hours of rest, my friend, will heal the hole in your chest. But it might.
That's right.
Let me ask you a question, my 4 friends. When you look around the reflection, what do you see?
I see a man who speaks a lot and says very little.
Yes, but what do you see? And he points towards the thing he's sitting on, which again to you, he's just literally sitting on an abyss.
I see peace and quiet.
A very poetic answer, but what do you literally see, my friend?
Darkness.
Ah, you're blind. Now it makes sense. So, if you were to put your hand out, and he points to you, Murmur, and touch the thing beside you, you wouldn't know what you're touching, right?
Murmur shakes his head.
That is a problem. And the old tiefling stands up, and he begins to like hobble walk towards you four. As he does so, it's not the feeling of an arc theme that you get. It's not the shaking, but the closer he gets to you, you feel this slight pressure against you, like it's pushing down, like an increase in gravity on every atom. Not a threatening feeling, but an overwhelming feeling that's building up. What do you four do as he begins to approach?
I watch him curiously and stand there.
That's close enough. You have no reason to come any closer.
I have a lot of reason. Malice or World Eater or whatever you want to call yourself. And he takes another step forward as if not heeding your words at all. How do you respond, Lilith?
She is going to try and cast Hold Person on him.
As you cast the spell, your third eye opens up, and your third eye sees the strands of magic you're pulling from the chaos and hell beyond to do this spell. And you see as it gets closer to him, it literally disappears, and you're reminded of the anti-magic field that Oracle had created around you before, and you realize that something similar surrounds this man as tiefling as well.
I see you are also protecting yourself.
I am not. I am merely breathing. You see, with proper breath and eating properly every day, even powerful spells cannot touch you. I learned that under the tree too. I still got it, don't I? And he just keeps walking towards you, getting even closer.
Murmur is just going to sort of place the Father of Swords on one shoulder so he could bring it down in a two-handed strike if necessary, but he's just watching this tiefling with these dead gray eyes.
Yeah, I think Lilith would also like reach just for a hand axe, just to not to strike or anything, but just watching him.
And once the tiefling gets close enough, closer still, it's like the blackness is peeling itself away. It's as if that field of pressure around him that's intensified so much already has just shattered the night and the abyss and the void and the darkness all at once. And now the darkness is in these great pools at your feet, and rising up through these pools of murky shadow are blades of grass. And you look around and you see these tall tree trunks all around you, these dark woods, these brilliant violet leaves, right? And then the grass begins to shake, and the shade and the change, and it all becomes very ultraviolet all at once. And then it all becomes a pure white. Then all becomes as if it's normal grass again. And then he gets closer, and then all four of you are back in Crifoth. Or all five of you, I should say. And he points behind you, Murmur. And when you turn to look, you see row after row after row of tiefling kneeling in meditation and petrified. The mouths are all slightly open, and you hear like this loud ringing sound. And as it begins to fade, this happens for all four of you as well, you hear a low, distant, continuous sound coming from these petrified tieflings. And he says to you, this old bleached tiefling, they too used to think that killing everything was the right answer, but they've learned a bit more, I think. I'm not quite sure. Stone statues do not talk very much.
Is there any Blood Knight insignia around?
No, there's not. These are not blood knights,
Okay.
you can tell.
Okay.
What is the point of this?
Point of these. The best art, my friend, back when there was art, required you to interpret it, not the artist
No,
to tell you what it meant.
not the statues.
Yes, I know. I'm not. When I said artist, my friend, I wasn't referring to these statues. Those are actual tieflings in meditation. No.
I'm aware of that, sir.
Oh, Oh, you're getting a little bit emotional. I haven't seen this kind of outbursts from you yet. I've been watching a long time. Normally you pretend like you're perfectly at peace, but I knew you weren't.
What is the point of this?
Oh, he's got this
Oh,
calm.
you talking to us.
He looks at
Saying
you,
the things
Murmur,
you say.
and he kind of nudges you with his elbow, Murmur, and he's like, he's got this calm voice again. This one just moves in circles, doesn't he?
He is wise in some things, not so wise in others. I used to think differently, but this has been an enlightening experience.
I appreciate it, my friend. The point of this, I've been saving your lives for the last 5 minutes continuously because the primordials cannot approach me because I don't know why, to be honest. I'm just a very calm tiefling. So, for the last 5 minutes, and probably for the next however long we're talking, the rock won't try to collapse on you. The sun will not burn you away. You won't drown or be struck by lightning. And the demon of song, who has been singing to you this entire time, well, you will not hear her songs, and you will remain safe for just a while.
But why help us?
Why help you? Because you're the last 3.5 humans left, and because your purpose has not been achieved yet. And if you died now, I would be very, very sad. Well, my good daughter. And he looks to you and he taps you on your chest. And as he does so, your skin becomes covered in countless sigils for just a moment. They whiten color and they fade away. And he says, each of those sigils is exactly 10,000 human souls. And he turns and he taps the erudite. And that same array of sigils happens again. And then he taps you, Murmur, and then you, Yannis. And the same thing happens for you two. And he says, 10,000 souls times these countless sigils on you. There's a lot of humanity in you four. I'm not quite sure how it got there. Probably has something to do with the thing that's been watching you and who told you you would die in 7 days. But the way I see it, something has been trying to kill you for 5 days now, and it's gotten you very, very, very close to that point. And if you die, all of that dies too. And he trails an arm down your own arm, Lilith. And as he trails his finger, the sigils just waking up and then they fade away moments later. But in a few days, if you still draw breath, I do not think these souls will be souls any longer, if that makes sense. I think something very spectacular will happen. Maybe.
You said this thing that told us we would die. You speak as if you know about it.
I do. We talked briefly for a while once. He is not as good as charismatic in conversation as I am, of course. He's better than this one here, and he points to the erudite. But not as good as this one here, and he points to Murmur.
Well, then what was it? Or are you not going to tell us?
Well, I don't really know if he has a really good name. He was put there a long, long, long time ago, and he is not much of what he quite was. He's a shadow of a shadow is the best way to describe it, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense. I know it doesn't make sense. It sounds like I'm talking nonsense. But it's really hard to describe what a imprisoned god looks like. You know, has anyone ever asked you what a god looks like? It's very hard to understand and communicate that answer. As you would know. And he points to the area that you're in. But regardless, I have been having talks with other people as well. It's like he says it in that old way, like how old guy tries to change like, the topic of conversation. I've been talking to other things as well. I've been talking to a few sisters, and I've convinced them of a few things. So I'm hoping if you can live another few days, we can all come to an agreement and put this whole nasty apocalypse business behind us. Or not, or we could die, or we could conquer the world. You can do what you want. I'm just an old man who hopes for the best.
The erudite whispers to his three companions. What merit is held behind this man's words?
I'm standing in the middle of the four of you. If you try to whisper, I hear you right here, man.
Truth be told, I am not certain, but and Murmur looks around. We are not being attacked by the stone and the sand under our feet. The sun is not incinerating us. I would say that warrants some trust in this individual.
Myself, I've seen plenty of credentials in him, especially at how humble he is.
You flatter me. Anyway, before you decide to ignore what I'm saying and go gallivanting off, I will say one more thing. Her third eye, and he points to Lilith, got to come out. Cannot stay in there. Will be bad, bad business. You see, the third eye is very important. You're important. Excuse me, I'm getting old. It's hard to talk sometimes. But the third eye is very important, and your third eye got a little bit of something in it. And he like does like a circle, and you look at like Lilith's third eye. It's like that black eye, right, that you have in the middle of your forehead, Lilith. Just a little bit of something in it, I think. So, excuse me. Yes, I would say take out that third eye if you get the chance to. Don't do it with that sword because he will probably kill you. He looks like a murderous type. He nudges you again with his elbow, Murmur.
And Murmur actually smiles, this slow smile, baring his teeth a little bit.
But regardless, the song from the demon song is getting very loud now, and it's very unpleasant for me. So I must walk away briefly. I will come back to you tomorrow, or probably more than likely on the 7th day, so 2 days from now. Please be alive then. I like you guys quite a bit. I think you're very good company, even you. And he points to the erudite. One last thing before I leave. If you would come here, please. You, Oracle, you with the constellation tattoos.
I whip a bit of blood from my lip and I walk forward. Yeah.
Just 1 moment, please. And he grabs one of your wrists, and as he does so, he grabs your arm at the top, and he moves his hand down, and then he does it the second. As he does so, you regain your 9th level spell slot, Oracle, and you also regain your use of Divine Intervention. And he looks over to you, Erudite, and he says, now, one of your companions has become this demon goddess thing. Another one has a very cool looking sword. This one I just helped out a little bit because his sister said they would like me to help him out a little bit. And you, well, I think you just have to learn a little bit more and you will be good to go. Now, with that being said, I am about to move you, the 4 of you, somewhere else. All right? It will be very quick as usual. You should be accustomed to teleporting by now. You've been doing a lot of it. The moment I deposit you, you will be in a fight for your lives. I urge you not to kill and not to eat. Do not eat them. And he looks to you, Lilith. If you like to eat them, do not eat them. I will see you people in 2 days. And he smiles and he bows. Go ahead, Murmur.
What do we call you?
Well, I think you should call me. And then everything turns black. And when you blink again, you 4 are standing in this massive antechamber. All around you are these broken pillars and these broken walls and these dead incarnate, right? Hundreds of dead incarnate, more than you've ever seen together before. You see dust and sand and plant and water and fire everywhere. And standing in the middle of it is Jupiter. And he is stomping down again and again and again on something, scratching his chin as usual, looking down his back to you all, just saying, "Oh, man, rocks sure do break easy these days." And then he pulls his foot back and kicks something, and something goes flying through one of the walls. What do you guys do?
Let us see if we can use Lilith against this creature then. And Murmur glances over at you, Lilith.
And you can see that Lilith has just been like kind of thinking, and she looks towards you and she just nods. He must die.
They must all die.
I am glad to see we are finally at on the same page for now.
He's killing them. We should go right now.
And she's going to begin to do something.
Jupiter like twitches his head and he says, "Are there more ants behind me?" And he turns around and he looks down on you four, and his eyes go wide. And he kind of like he squats down, like he does like a Slav squat, right? He does a Slav squat in front of you four, and he's looking at you guys, and it's like, well, look who it is. The queen who's betrayed us and her three comrades. You know, the seer talked to me today. It's been a very bad day. And the seer said, you're going to kill and eat me. Are you going to kill and eat me, Malice?
Malice is dead. And so will you be soon.
As it goes. And then he jumps into the air and is going to land straight on top of you four. All of you, please make dexterity saving throws for me. Man, Erudite has the worst fucking luck. Yeah, he's wearing. So Jake says, our lovely producer Jake asks if he's wearing a Adidas tracksuit while squatting. He is. It's made out of it's made out of gas giants. Is what it's made out of. So we have a 12. Okay, you already push it. Oh, okay, you all failed. Wow, lovely. He lands on all four of you. This is going to be especially bad for one of you, and that one of you is the Oracle. Who has Death Ward on him, which is lucky, very lucky, as you all take 80 points of bludgeoning damage. He then jumps back into the air, and he breaks to the ceiling, and the breeze is raining on you guys as we roll for initiative. So everyone go ahead, roll. If you would, please announce what you rolled, just like verbally for me.
6.
Dope.
2.
20.
Dope. Nice.
Hang on one sec. I got to figure out. So that stomp actually cuts into Murmur's blood points because he's not doing so hot. So let me roll the initiative real quick. So that's a 24. However, I think I need to roll on the injury chart because let's see.
And I'm at 1 blood point, by the way.
So you also need to roll, Yannis.
Down to half your blood points. Yep. So I need to roll on the table. Hang on one second real quick. Great. I lost a finger somehow from that stomp.
Given that a like 20-foot tall gas giant has jumped up and down you, I can see it. I can see it happening. And then you, Oracle?
I rolled the 75. I don't have it open. Is there? Do you have?
Do you still have it open, Jason?
Yes, I do. Yes. What did you roll, Yannis?
75.
75.
That's a D10. So I'll just take the 7 for it.
7.
Okay. So this is a deep laceration. At the end of every 24-hour period, you lose 1 blood point. This injury can be stymied by someone tending the wound by making a DC 10 Wisdom medicine check. If they succeed, you do not lose the blood point for that period of time. This injury heals itself after a long rest, so not too bad.
Dope. I love it. So at the top of initiative order, Erudite, tell me what happens as he jumps on you, and what do you do with your turn as you look up and he is flying literally 80 feet above you?
Erudite, first off, bonus action, Misty steps to somewhere very far away from his footfall. And I imagine that's probably why he didn't get annihilated from this as much. And secondly, he's going to conjure up some magic by tracing sigils in the air. And this sigil, as he's been a more and more powerful wizard, he understands and knows the sigils of more and more pure concepts. And this one is literally death. I need Jupiter to make a Constitution saving throw against DC 19.
He makes it. He has a 21 total.
All right. So it's only a bunch of damage. I'll put it in the chat afterwards.
What was the spell after all? Just for
A Finger of Death.
Finger that's got you. As you kind of emblazon the sigil, and this black sigil also appears on his chest, Jupiter looks down and he smashes her once, and he begins laughing. He says, ho, 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 ho. And he looks down and he raises his right hand, and this massive boulder comes flying out of nowhere, and he grabs it and he slings it down on you guys. I need the three of you, because one of you is misty stepped away, to all make another dexterity saving throw for me.
Question: I have on my D&D Beyond sheet that I have inspiration. Did you give us inspiration for something?
I'll say you have it.
Great, because I really need it.
Yeah, you're the only one that got it so far. Like, you're just, Marquis is like, yeah, you get inspiration.
Yeah, just you.
Yeah.
So that is a 24 for Murmur.
Okay. And then 1 second here. I gotta pull something up. All right, let's see what we have. 13, 7. That's not a 37, I assume, from you. What did you get? Oh, sorry, no, you didn't have to make it. That's right. So if you got below a 15, you are taking a total of 40 points of bludgeoning damage. If you got above a 15, you're able to basically dodge out of the way of the boulder, which crashes behind you. Go ahead, Oracle.
Holy shit, I dodged it with 1 blood point.
Dope. I love it. It is now your turn, Murmur. You dodge out of the way of the rock and it explodes behind you. What do you do?
Can I take an action to disengage from Jupiter? Is that possible?
He's 80 feet above you, so you're not really engaged.
Great. So what is in the area surrounding? I know there's a bunch of like dead and smashed incarnum. Is there anything else?
Just like broken pieces of whatever building you're inside of. You're not even quite sure where you're at.
Okay. So yeah, Murmur is going to immediately break away from the group and try and find a likely looking structure to cower behind, because he is not doing well. Actually, one of his armored fingers on his right hand has literally just fallen off due to the impact. And he is going to actually, I guess, dash in that direction.
I'll say you could take a hide action actually instead.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It'll be with disadvantage because of your armor. So
right.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me roll that real quick. Both weren't great. So that is a 14 total for the stealth.
You jump behind some massive, basically, bits of rubble and whatnot. And did you do anything else with your turn?
Yes. So as he kind of like slams into this rock and tries to steady his breathing, even as he is bleeding profusely from all of these wounds and probably has a mild concussion since he was just stepped on by a giant, Murmur sort of takes a moment and focuses himself, and I'm going to use my second wind to recover some health as well.
I dig it.
That'll be it.
As you're doing so, you still hear that deep ho, 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 ho of Jupiter, and he reaches up into his hair, into the mane of gas around his head, and he pulls something out. And what he pulls out is literally just dozens of lightning bolts just held in his fist, and they crackle around like a whip does. And he snaps it once, and as he does so, this thunder explodes and booms around everything. And he looks down at you all, and then he disappears as he teleports. And he lands in a lightning strike directly in front of you, Lilith. And he's going to make one quick attack on you. What's your AC again? Is it, wait, let me rephrase. Is it higher than 31?
No.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay. So he strikes you with this lightning. Make me a strength check please. You're looking for a DC 24.
Did not make it.
Did not make it. As he strikes you with the lightning, he wrenches his hand back up and he throws you 30 feet directly into the air above himself, which means you're going to be falling 50 feet back to the ground, which means you're going to be taking another 35 points plus the 13 points. Sorry, 13, 11. Excuse me, I have my math all messed up. taking a total of, there we go, 50 points of damage total from the mixture of the lightning whip and the fall. It is now your turn, Lilith. What do you do?
Oh boy. She is going to try and pick herself back up, and she is also going to look at him, and immediately this gaseous black tendrils begin to flow from her eye, and they begin to wrap around Jupiter, and he needs to make a, I believe, Connor, what for the Finger of Death, what
Finger of Death was a con save.
con save? Yeah, he needs to make a con save.
As these black tendrils strike him, he grabs it in one hand and he crashes it. You blacken his hand and he looks at you and he says, "The same trick will not work on me twice." And then he like drops this scraps of black to his feet. Roll your damage. He's taking half of it. He is legendary resistances, basically.
Okay. So that's going to be 35 points of damage.
35? All right, perfect. And it is now your turn, Oracle, who is lying behind him, bleeding profusely. What do you do?
I roll and get up on my knees, and I reach to pull my sleeve, but I see that it's ripped up. I don't have any sleeve anymore. So I just turn my hand towards the Orchid constellation, and with a quick flash, as it blazes all at once, I cast Must Heal and bring everyone back to full hit points.
I love it.
Whew, that was close.
As that starlight explodes from you, Jupiter looks over his shoulder and is like, "You ants just do not learn, do you? You do not learn at all." And he swings his lightning whip down on top of you, Oracle. So what's your AC? Excuse me. Got confused for a second. Or rather, okay, is your AC is it higher than 26?
My AC is 15, so no.
Okay. Make me a strength saving throw for me, if you would.
I'm inclined to say no again.
Outright, you're taking 16 plus 20. Okay. Outright, you're taking 36 points of lightning damage. And then you said you pass it. You said you failed the strength save.
I rolled a 2, so yeah.
Okay. He snaps his arm in front of him, and you go flying 30 feet in front of him for 50 feet total in a vertical line. You smash through pillar after pillar before you hit a wall and fall to the ground. You take another 35 points of bludgeoning damage. Then it is officially Jupiter's turn. He snaps it down again, and he looks at you, Lilith, and he kneels down in that last one, and he says, "I will handle you later, mother." And then he fades away in a burst of lightning. And then Erudite, he is right behind you. Once he appears, he smashes his hand into the ground, and as he lifts it, this wall of storm clouds rises up along with him. Please make me a dexterity saving throw.
This is a magic spell, right?
It's an innate spell casting, so it cannot be counterspelled.
But I get advantage on this because my.
You do, yes.
That's going to be a 19.
A 19? All right, let me double check something real quick before I tell you fail. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, okay, yeah, you fail. The DC for his magic for everyone else, by the way, is 21 for this, not the normal 24. So you get a little bit lucky there. You're going to take a total of 45 points of lightning damage as he raises his storm wall, Erudite, and lightning pours out of it and begins to blast and just overwhelming you, striking you again and again and again. This wall is almost in a complete circle around you. You cannot see through it, and you're trapped inside of here alongside with Jupiter. So none of you guys can also see through the storm wall right now. With that being said, Erudite, it is now your turn.
Trapped in this arena with Jupiter. This is a very, very precarious situation that Iridate's found himself in. Is he like within 5 feet or within?
Yeah, he's standing. Well, it's within 10 feet really because he's so tall. But yeah.
Well, he's gonna. He can't really even see out of this storm cloud. He's gonna disengage and use his levitation to try and fly up.
Right.
I imagine like there's a column of like.
So it's 20 feet tall. So you fly up. You would end your turn 10 feet above it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do.
Is that your entire turn?
That will be my turn. Yeah.
He looks up and he watches you do this, and you're basically just 10 feet above him. He can so easily reach you, which he does, right? He snaps his lightning whip and he says, I don't know where you think you're going. And let me go ahead. Yeah, it's 44 damage, Connor, earlier that you took from the wall. And Connor, what's your AC at?
Well, I'm going to be using my reaction to shield this. I don't care what it is. So that would be a total of 18 AC.
Of 18. Let me double check something here real quick. Ooh, just barely. I like it. He snaps the whip and it explodes off of your shield around you. And he perks one massive gaseous eyebrow and he lowers his hand and he says, it seems against you I will need to use both of the World Eater's arms. And it is now your turn, Murmur. What do you do?
So he is walled off from us by this storm cloud, correct? We can't see where he's at right now.
Correct.
Okay. And how far away is Murmur from the storm cloud right now? Roughly.
We'll say that since you went to go high, we want to say you're 60 feet away from it. You're at the very end of the hallway.
Okay, so Murmur's going to move 30 feet in the direction of the storm cloud, and he is going to... he's going to ready an attack action. Actually, no, he's going to take the dodge action, and that'll end my turn.
So then, Lilith, your brother has been cornered by the demon archfiend of Jupiter. As this is happening, Lilith, memories well up inside of you, memories you have not yet accessed, and you see a series of visions before you, right? You see this corrupt demon form, this archfiend, broken and nearly killed after the battle with the World Eater. You see it eating the arms and the legs. You see it ascending, and then the power being too strong for it. And then you see it wrestling what looks to be a massive storm cloud itself. And then you think the word to yourself, primordial. And then you watch this archfiend devouring that primordial. And then you look again at Jupiter behind his storm cloud. What do you do with your turn?
He needs to make a wisdom saving throw.
You cannot see him through the walls, by the way, so you have to get through the wall to get to him.
Okay.
He's like, shit. You do have flight, so if you want to fly up, that is also valid.
Yes, I think she's going to use that. She's going to begin to fly up just like her brother.
All right, so you spread your wings, you take to the skies. I guess, Roy, this is the upper height of this building you're in, and you can see him looking up directly at the erudite. And then I'll make the wisdom saving throw. JK, legendary resistance. He's not going to make no wisdom saving throw. What's the effect if he succeeds?
No effect. So,
no effect. So as you cast your spell and you weave your sigils, he looks towards you and he does one of these motions, and you see the magic hit the back of his wrist and just break away. And he smiles and he says, I told you, mother, I would handle you next. And then he looks back up and he disappears with another teleportation. Lightning explodes. Let me check his passive perception real quick. Oh, all right, dope. That's cool. You see, well, sorry. So here's what happens. When lightning is about to strike, a very interesting effect happens, right? Where all your hair begins to stand up on end, including the hair on your head. Murmur, you feel this feeling happening all around you. You can taste the ozone in your mouth. You can smell it in the air. And then the shadow is behind you. And Jupiter is squatting, looking down at you, saying, and who are you playing hide-and-go-seek with, little human? And when he says this, Oracle, it is now your turn.
As I get up out of the rubble of those mast pillars I flew through, I see him and I run towards him. And how far away is he from me?
I'm gonna say it's 30 feet from you.
Okay, I'm gonna cast Dispel Evil on myself, and I'm gonna run, and as he is preparing to flick Murmur into the wall, I'll try and boop him on his leg with my finger and activate my Dispel Evil.
I like it. So what does he have to do for that?
That's a charisma save throw,
Alright,
I think.
yeah.
Let me.
So what's your DC?
19.
19. Let me double check something real quick. Let me check my charisma. Bonus, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to make this. Okay, he makes it with flying colors. What's the half effect if he saves?
Nothing. So, yeah, he's fine.
More magic and starlight pumps through him, and Jupiter looks out and he says to you, Oracle, what is up with humans? Always thinking that spells will save them from anything. Be gone! And when he does this motion, he blows as well. Please, if you would, my good friend, make me a strength saving throw. DC is going to be 21. Sorry, 24.
I can make that even with a 20.
So this is what's going to happen, my good friend. First off, you're going to go flying back a full 60 feet, and you're going to go flying through the wall of storms that he created, right? So as you go flying through this horizontally and into the wall, you're going to be taking a total of 45 points of lightning damage as you go flying through the storm wall. And now you are lying, Oracle, directly underneath where the erudite is. It is now once again officially. Oh, sorry, Oracle, you have something to say?
No, just motion to the erudite. Hey.
It is now once again officially Jupiter's turn, and he looks down on you, Murmur. He says, "Now your friend has convinced me that I need to use both of my arms. So forgive me now, I guess." And he takes his hand and he just starts shoving it directly into you, Murmur. Can you give me your AC for reference? Or rather, tell me if
It's 21.
21? Okay, so 23 will definitely hit you then. All right, let me roll one more. Okay, so you got lucky. All right, so you're going to be taking a total of 32, 40 from the first punch. And then from the second punch, you're taking 24 more points. So 64 points of damage total as he shoves you in the ground. Wait, you're taking the dodge action, right? You're right. Thank you for reminding me of that. Let me double check something.
Did I actually, or did I take the? No, that was the other turn.
That
Yes,
was the other turn.
Dodge action.
Okay, perfect. All right. So yeah, the 2 punches still hit you regardless because you actually rolled higher. So you take that 64 points of damage, and he stands up fully now, and he says, "Do you remember my girlfriend?" And he lifts his foot above you, calling his foot his girlfriend, as he prepares to smash you into annihilation. But before you can erudite, you're floating above the storm wall. It is now your turn. What do you do?
The erudite recognizes that the storm power that Jupiter wields may not be his own. And he's going to try something. He's going to try to cast banishment, not on Jupiter, but upon the storm power he wields.
The storm power he wields. When you do this and you cast it, it is a good thought experiment. And for a second, the main begins to fade away. Let me go ahead and make my intelligence saving throw. What's your DC?
19.
19. Okay, he's going to pass that. And so as you cast his banishment, you see that while the effect didn't take hold, you are correct that he has devoured this power, or rather, this power has devoured maybe Jupiter itself, right? And you're not quite sure exactly what's going on there, but you're on the right track. That being said, he feels your magic blow over him, and he looks up at you, and he kind of makes his frown face on his giant face, and he's like, "Why do you keep casting your spells on me?" and he whips his whip down on top of you, Murmur. Ooh. Murmur, tell me how you deflect or dodge away from this whip.
So I would imagine that when Jupiter raised his girlfriend on high, Murmur immediately started like moving, remembering the impact of the foot on his body. And so when he sees the whip, he just darts out of the way. Surprisingly quick for his size.
Perfect. And he doesn't even notice this. He's still just like staring at you, Erudite, as we move over to Lilith's turn.
Lilith takes out her battle axe. And she is going to try and hit this storm above him with her axe. Elegant
description you have there. Go ahead and make your rolls to attack, please. And tell me
what am I looking for?
You're looking for 19.
Okay. So both of them go through, and then I'm also going to be using my Divine Smite on each of them for a total of 70 damage.
Ooh, wow. You barrel directly into his chest, swinging, and are you saying anything? Are you yelling, or are you just dead silent the whole time?
I would think that she would say something akin to, "Enough of this demonic power. You wanted no spells, I'll give you no spells."
And as you crash into him and start swinging, he grabs you and he pulls you away. And he's breathing hard as this mist comes from his mouth, and he says, "Mother, I have told you 2 times now. I will not repeat myself a third." And he looks into the sky, and his eyes fall directly on top of you. Make me a dexterity saving throw as he lets go of you at the same time. Looking for a 24.
Oh, God.
Oh, did I skip you, Murmur?
I think you might have, because I'm after the Erudite, but before.
Okay, I switched you with a little back time, so yeah. Okay, I'll have you guys.
That's fine. Thank you.
Nope.
You fail? All right.
Yeah.
So you're going to be taking a total of 40 points of thunder damage as this lightning and thunderbolt basically falls, and the shockwave from it just smashes through your body, right? This beautiful light fills this entire area. And as this happens, it is now your turn. Murmur, go ahead.
Okay, so where is Jupiter in relation to me? One more time. Relationship to me?
He's within 10 feet.
Beautiful. All right, so Murmur takes this moment, seeing all of this chaos going around, seeing that Jupiter is just not effortlessly throwing the Lilith Malice creature around, but doing some damage. And he takes the ruby on the pommel of his blade, his new blade, the Father of Swords, and he turns it to the right almost instinctively. And the blade vanishes to be replaced by this golden battle axe made of fire that is just snapping and snarling and crackling. And he rushes forward at Jupiter. I pre-rolled hits and the damage, if that's cool.
Yes, fine.
And I am going to action surge, give me a total of the 4 attacks.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a 26 to hit for the first one.
If it's above 19, they hit.
Beautiful. All right. So then that is a total of, I should have done this part. So let's see, 28 plus, hang on a second. Sorry.
You're good. And remember that your critical is going to go straight to his blood, so now you got a crit in there.
Got it. Yeah. So I got at least 3 crits. Let's see.
Dope.
So that's 8 plus 13 plus 13. Okay, so that's 54 points of grit damage, and then the damage going directly to blood is going to be 26 plus 14, so 40 points of blood point damage.
Nice metal. Give me the number one more time for blood points. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So it's 13. So it's 40 total to blood.
40 to blood. Ooh,
40.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it.
And the whole time he is just screaming as this axe cuts into his flesh, just saying, "I am Razak Vashir and I abjure you." Rah, just screaming.
I love it. Also, you have a Vorpal longsword, don't you?
I don't.
Your sword is Vorpal now, remember?
Is it?
Yes.
Oh,
it's the Rod of Lowly Knight plus 3 plus Lord Vorpal. So
okay.
One of your strikes, you swing it up through the sky. Jupiter has fallen to the ground as you're slamming into him, and you cut directly through his neck. The head goes flying into the air, and he's looking down on you as his head is spinning, and then he's looking at the sky, and then back down on you, and then back to the sky. And then his head shakes and changes, and it explodes into a massive storm cloud, a cumulonimbus just expanding rapidly upwards and skywards. The body lies there bleeding out more gas. And essentially what happens is this body begins to melt away as well. And the quintessence of Jupiter is all around you guys, this massive churning storm. And right now, let me double check something just to make sure I'm not pulling this out of my ass, you know what I'm saying? Okay, just making sure. So in this form, you realize that because he's a giant thundercloud above this place, that no sword, no blade, no spell will reach him while he's in this form. With that being said, Oracle, it is now your turn. What do you do?
As I saw the lightning power flicker from the erudite's magic before, now that he's mist and cloud around us, I see my chance to tear away this lightning power from him, and I will cast banishment on and pull away, rip the lightning from this cloud.
You're trying to rip lightning from lightning at this point, and as you cast the spell, the stars flicker in your arms and then they fade away. The spell doesn't go through whatsoever, as if the goddesses themselves have stopped you from wasting the magic inherent of it. And you realize you cannot banish this thing in any way while it's in this form.
I would look around. There's no exit from this closed up area?
You're still inside the churning. Actually, no, I'll say that wall of storms is faded with those criticals. So when you look around you, you see at the end of this long, massive hallway is definitely a way out.
Well, I would shout to the others, that way, and I'll go towards there and see if it's clear or there's any obstacles.
As you run that way, your turn comes to the end. It's about 60 feet away from where you are now, so you get halfway there. At the same time, the storm above you crackles, and then it condenses all into one abnormally, supernaturally, just stupid thick lightning bolt that falls from the sky, and it lands in between you and the doorway, Oracle. And from that lightning bolt rises again Jupiter, who's still bleeding from his wounds, and his neck, too, is just faintly bleeding these gases as well. And he shakes his shoulders, and he stands, and you can hear not the cracking of bone, but the cracking of thunder as he flexes his body. And he stands, and his eyes and his face is dark, and he's no longer laughing, and he says, "Oh, it has been a long time since I've been forced to do that. A long time indeed. I have decided while I was in the thundercloud who I would kill first. It is you." And he looks down to you, Oracle. And then his eyes flash open, and I need you to give me 1 second, please. All these spells are killing me on the inside. I need you to make a wisdom saving throw, DC 24.
I was at 23.
Oh, so sad. His eyes flash, and then you blink once, Oracle, and you reach up, and you're like doing this motion with your eyes, and you pull your hand back, and they're covered in clouds, and your eyes have been replaced by these miniature lightning bolts. You look back up to Jupiter, and you see him not as an enemy, but as a father, as a mentor, as a guide, as he casts Geas on you. Having cast a spell is basically what it means. You are charmed by him, and if you do anything that he does not order you to, you will take 50 points of psychic damage flat out. This charm lasts, of course, for 30 days. With that being said, Jupiter lowers in that squat, and he looks at you and he says, "Human ally, you are not the first one I will kill, and if you are lucky, I will not kill you at all, as long as you do me a favor. That thing you just did to me, do it to him." And he points to Murmur, and he orders you, with his geas, to cast Banishment on Murmur, Oracle. And that will take place on your next turn if you want to resist that and take the psychic damage or not. Keep in mind that you are charmed. That being said, Erudite, is now your turn. What do you do?
The Erudite, he's exhausted from this. He's floating, levitating in the air. He rises further, higher up. And he swings the silver sword. It's almost liquid as it swings, and 3 bolts of pure energy fly into the corpse of Jupiter. The lowest I got was an 18 to hit.
All right, that 18 will miss, and above 19s will hit.
Oh, okay, cool. So that would be a very paltry. Oh, 20 points of force damage.
Nice. I like it. As these bolts smash into his shoulder, Jupiter looks up at you and he frowns even deeper, right? And he says, "Do not worry, little man. You will be the next to die." And he's not going to do anything this turn. It's now your turn, Murmur. What do you do?
Sorry, I was bad. I was not rolling stuff. But anyway, so yeah, Murmur. So Murmur saw Jupiter talking, and I'm assuming he heard Jupiter talking to the Oracle. Correct? Okay.
Correct.
He is going to, still with this fiery battle axe in hand, he is going to try and run past the Oracle to get to Jupiter, and he is going to take some swings, just because that's what he does.
I like it.
All right, so one of them is definitely going to miss. One of them is a crit. Let's see here. All right, so that is 14 points of blood damage to Jupiter.
Nice. If you would, please roll me a d10.
D10? All right, let's see. A 5.
5. And what is that on the blood injury chart?
Blood injury chart is it's lose a finger.
Lose a finger. So, okay, keep going.
Okay, and then the other two are just regular hits. So let me roll those. So that is 8 points to grit, and then 14 points to grit.
Dope. So 8 plus 4. So 14 total, 8 plus 14.
8 plus 14, so 22 total.
22. All right, gotcha. As you come swinging at him, he raises his hand. He's like, "Roof!" And at this point, you realize that Jupiter's one of those people that the angrier he gets, the less he talks, and the more stern his face becomes. Because right now, he's a very stern-faced Murmur, and he's just looking straight down at you with the most furrowed eyebrows of gash you could imagine. That being said, go ahead, Murmur.
I was just going to say that seeing how angry Jupiter is getting for the first time in a very long time, Murmur just smiles this big, toothy, actually a genuine smile. He seems not excited, but he seems happy that he managed to rattle this gas giant.
Enough. And then he moves to the left. But when he moves, it's as his body completely collapses into one. He turns into lightning and he teleports again. This time, when he teleports, you cannot see where he is, except for the erudites, who can see that through, because you kind of it has poking out through the roof of this place. You can see that 120 feet away from this building, he has reappeared. And now that you're looking at the city, things are interesting here, erudites. I'll describe that more when it comes to your turn proper, however. That being said, Oracle. Lilith, it is now your turn.
So Lilith is going to turn towards the Oracle. And she's going to fly, or I think she's still up in there. She's going to go directly towards him.
Towards who? So I missed that part.
The Oracle.
Okay.
Directly at him. And she is going to like just run into him and push him at his chest. And you can see as she does this, she's going to cast, or she's going to use one of her abilities, which is Cleansing Touch, which means that the spell ends on him. And so she pushes him back, and you see that there is this cloud of his visage, his silhouette, that has remained as his body has fallen. And then this silhouette of him that is in cloud just kind of dissipates.
Perfect. As you cleanse that touch, Lilith, it gets dark where you're at, and you can taste ozone in your mouth. And you look up, and you see this small figure of Jupiter jumping into the air. He's raising his hands, and as he lands, right, as he begins to fall, you look up directly above you, and make a dexterity saving throw for me, DC 24.
There's no way I can pass, so I'm not even going to roll.
No. So you take, Lilith, another 44 points of lightning damage as a bolt of lightning just strikes you once more.
Okay.
All right, and it's now your turn, Oracle.
By the brief moment of clarity that his spell gave me, that I stopped seeing him as an enemy, I remembered that strange white guy told us we shouldn't kill them. So I'll look up towards him and say, "Don't worry, Father. I will keep you safe. The stars have shown me the way." And I'll use my divine intervention and ask of the stars to imprison him into the earth for 2 days.
I like it. What you see, Erudite, is you see a riot of a city. Things are broken and destroyed. These ancient, well, not ancient, I guess, but these tall, black, twisted spires of metal and obsidian built by demons and tieflings have mainly been toppled and destroyed. And Erudite, as your eyes are scanning the field, you just see countless Incarnum moving throughout the streets, hunting down and killing tieflings in mass, right? And then you see the entire thing just begins to shake and to turn. And you see Jupiter land on the ground. And you see him getting ready to jump again. And as he goes to do so, the city folds up like a ball, right? The entire city, all the streets, all the buildings, the palaces, all that, fold up like a ball. Or more, better yet, like the petals of a flower closing around Jupiter. And they close around him and they shrink into his height. And then there's silence. As all the Incarnum, all the dead tieflings, all the chaos from the riots has been imprisoned inside of this flower prison alongside Jupiter himself. And we exit initiative.
Erudite descends to the ground. The earth swallowed him, rising up like a flower. I guess rising up like a sandworm. For you who have never seen a flower.
He's not gonna trouble us for the next days. That strange fellow we met in the reflection, he said we shouldn't kill them and that we should live, all of us. So he's not.
We shouldn't eat them, not kill them. And you can see there's like this annoyance, and whether she's just choosing to ignore the things that he said, but there is this obvious anger in Lilith.
Well, either way, he's not gonna trouble us anymore.
We should have killed him. Then he would never trouble us ever again.
I think that's easy to kill them. Part of me thinks maybe they need to be devoured, or they would return. Such malice, such darkness, such hatred cannot be extinguished, merely moved to something else. So I say we keep them imprisoned.
Until what? Just forever?
And then they all come up in a cacophony of even more evil and hatred.
That sounds
A
familiar.
surprise for our children of children.
We'll see what will happen at the end of the week.
No more talk. Let's get to the next one.
Take a point of inspiration for that, please, Oracle. I love that line.
Lilith would just begin walking out of this building.
As you walk outside, Lilith, what you see around you is this. Where there was once a city, there is now just a small metal flower. So you're surrounded by basically this giant barren nothingness, and then the ruined palace you just walked out of, right? You look up, and now the sky is no longer clouded over. You can see the sun has set and the moon has risen, and it is night. And that this day will soon come to an end. A cold wind blows past you as you exit. What do the rest of you do?
Murmur, after waiting a little while, follows Lilith outside, and he looks at this stone flower of a prison containing Jupiter, and the corners of his mouth twitch into a frown for a moment, and he sort of mutters to himself, I wonder... And he just shakes his shaved head, and he sort of, at a distance, follows Lilith.
The Erudite's feet touch the ground as his sandaled feet carry his weight once more. The Erudite looks drained. He's holding his silver sword very limply. It's tracing in the sand as he walks.
Oh, this is probably a bad time to mention this. Well, it's been quite some time since you all have been able to drink or to eat. So everyone, please make me a Constitution saving throw. We're going to say DC 20.
I pass.
Oh.
Pass as well.
All right, Lilith, you take another 2 points of exhaustion.
Me too, I guess.
Dope, yes. Oracle, as you step out into the world again, what do you say or do?
As I look around into this eerie silence after all this battle and sounds were folded up into a single stone flower, I look up towards the stars that start to shine out and say, well, this is as good a place as any to rest.
There's shelter from the suns, shelter from the winds. I agree with you, Oracle.
I will cast Forbidden around us before I open my pouch and start blowing red ruby dust around us.
Dope. I like it.
Likewise, does Forbidden notify you of intruders too? Or does it just like stop them?
Let me
Because
bring
if
up
it
the
doesn't
spells.
warn you, I'm gonna also use my ritual casting of alarm to basically just set up a bunch of.
Yeah, I think it doesn't, so might as well. Let me check.
Yeah, I'll set up alarm to notify me if we have any intruders as well. These invisible sigils that I trace fade after I write them.
Yeah, it doesn't notify me.
I love it. So as you guys all prepare to rest for the rest of the night and enter into the 6th and penultimate day of your last 7 days, the camera moves away. What you see is red light, and the camera begins to rotate. And as it's rotating around this red light, you see the corner of a mouth, and then you see these full lips, and it pulls away from the mouth, and the mouth opens up. And inside that mouth is another mouth, and then another mouth, and then another mouth. And inside all of these mouths is a true form of the demon of song. A woman in fetal position with a tiefling woman with a tiefling baby held nestled in her arms, suckling from one of her breasts. The tiefling woman opens her eyes and she looks out from the mouth, and she looks out to the chaos before her. You see countless ash elves lying on the ground. Their heads gone, destroyed, exploded. And you see standing in the center of all of them is this fire, this thing of fire, this thing of ash, this thing armored in soot and in smoke, with these charred bones underneath it. This primordial of flame stands there. And in its hand is a burning sword. And between the two are just the countless dead ash elves. The demon of song looks towards this fire primordial, and it looks back towards it. And as it goes a step forward, it stops. And she looks past it, and it turns and it looks over its shoulder. And off in the distance, the camera moves past countless mountains, and we see the palace where the forbidden has been cast. The fire primordial turns back, nods, and it jumps into the air, and it becomes a meteor that goes striking straight towards where that palace is. The demon of song nods her head, and she coos something in abyssal to the baby suckling from her breast, and the lips begin to close, all of them one after another. And that same song of a woman dying in childbirth is what it sounds like, and the crying of babes begins to echo out over the field. And crawling from the blackness of the stones and the shadows of these corpses are countless ethereal hunters. And as this scene begins to play out before all of you, that is where the session is going to end, and where day 5 of the last 7 days comes to an end. So thank you very much for everyone who watched this and who will watch this up on my YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed watching that boss fight play out for the last hour. And that being said, I'm out of here. So Jake, take me the fuck away.